The Secret Revelation. And then there were two. Part 1. Copyright by Dr. Elizabeth A. Garner. All rights reserved. August 12th, 2013. And then there were two. Agatha Christie, 10 Little Indians. One of the most exciting revelations that the Dürer cipher presents to us is the strong evidence of two artistic hands in both the Dürer prints and paintings. In other words, all evidence points to the fact that Albrecht Dürer was not encoding his art alone from the years 1496 to 1514. This concept is something that no one throughout all of history would have ever had a reason to postulate until the data that would allow the formulation of this hypothesis was published in the Nuremberg Forschungen in 1971. And then the Dürer cipher was cracked by Dr. Elizabeth Garner in 2009. In 1971, no one was looking for any new, clearer interpretations of Dürer's art, and they still are not today. Dr. Elizabeth Garner did not find the evidence of the nail in the coffin until 2008. World-class museums and institutions seem to have given up on any new interpretation of Dürer's art and embedded messages, and have yet to engage in any conversations regarding the obvious coding. But they continue to do some marvelous work updating catalog raisonnés and collating provenance information. It was common in the Renaissance for apprentices to help masters complete artworks, and for it to be legal to do so. It still remained legally the work of the artist, and it was illegal for any Renaissance artist to copy someone else's work in total, without leaving some sort of evidence that the copier's work was not that of the master's. Usually this was done by modifying the monogram of the original artist, or by substituting the monogram of the copyist's work for that of the master's, or by creating the image in reverse, backwards. That way the public was not deceived, and that was the goal of the Holy Roman Emperor. It explains why Dürer sued Marc Antonio Raimondi in 1506 in Venice for copyright infringement, the first European lawsuit of this kind. Raimondi was literally passing off his own work as Dürer's. While Dürer did not achieve getting the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian to inject Raimondi for his plagiarism, Dürer did receive the privilege of publishing a disclaimer on his prints, which marked his prints as real. What Dürer conceived as his imprimatur is delicious. We know he published this statement at the end of bound editions of The Life of the Virgin, The Large Passion, and the reissue of the Apocalypse in 1511. Here is a translation of what Dürer printed on the back of his prints. Secret begrudgers and thieves of the labor and invention of others, keep your audacious hands from this work. Per privilege accorded by Emperor Maximilian, no one may copy these pictures, nor reprint them from spurious blocks, nor sew prints within the boundaries of the empire. Whoever acts contrary to this command, be it disregard or avarice, will expose himself to great danger and risks the confiscation of his property. Pretty strong words. Dürer was taking no prisoners. There are so many of Dürer's prints that were legally copied that the Germanics National Museum in Nuremberg staged an exhibition to display these copies from July to September in 1978. The exhibition catalog titled Vorbild Dürer. Let's have a look at a few of these images. Here's the original of Dürer's Small Passion, The Fall of Man print, and then a picture of Raimondi's legal copy. Notice the monogram has been replaced. And then another example of Raimondi's copy of Dürer's Small Passion, The Flagellation. But it was odd that there are Dürer prints that contain a backwards D in the monogram that we know were made by Dürer, and which the hallmark of what a copyist would do. Dürer's customers would tend to think that these images were copies made by someone else. Dürer had no need to do this and could easily confuse his customers. So why did he? We have to peer much closer at the themes of the prints in which a backwards D monogram exists to start understanding these monograms represent the co-artist. A few examples of these are the following. A small Passion Christ appearing to his mother. The small Passion, Nativity. The small Passion, Christ's entry into Jerusalem. And this engraving. The 1500, woman riding the goat backwards. And what we have in the small Passion is a theme of a Savior appearing to a virgin woman and giving her a blessing, the birth of a Savior, and a Savior entering Jerusalem. It becomes a matter of deciphering who the Savior was in each of these instances. The engraving decodes into information about 5 of Dürer's siblings, 2 sets of which were twins, and that one set of twins were Capricorns, the sea goat. Let's look again at Dürer's painting style in 1498, specifically the Haller Madonna. There are 2 paintings on this one canvas, the Haller Madonna, and on the reverse, the backwards part of the canvas, which is especially important to note, is the painting of Lot and his family fleeing Sodom. Statistically, it is hard to accept that these paintings were done by the same person, and yet everyone has had until now that there has been no other plausible idea to consider. The scene from Lot looks amateurish and cartoonish. One of the early woodcuts is Hercules, which is actually dreadfully executed. It is hard to imagine that Albrecht did this composition, but the block has survived and resides at the British Museum. Or this image of the syphilitic man, which we have seen in the article Morality is a Venereal Disease, that Dürer was commissioned to do as a public health measure in 1496. And this very stiff agony in the garden from the large Passion series, that it is presumed from stylistic interpretation to have been made by Dürer circa 1496-1497. And then comes the apocalypse, with talent that bursts forth for which there is no real foundation based on what has gone before. How did Dürer suddenly develop such a different talent? Did he actually do this alone? So let's take a quick look at the engravings published concurrently with the apocalypse in 1498. The 1498 Sea Monster. What we see in this heavily encoded print is what we get used to seeing in Dürer prints. Fabulously executed landscapes with figures either in profile or close to profile. And we suddenly have cartoonish characters in the background here, reminiscent of the style of Lot and his family fleeing Sodom. This strange style continues through 1501 with the publication of Justitium, which coincides directly with the final period of Dürer working without apprentices, where all that he was doing remained shrouded in mystery. The landscape portions are wonderful. The other images are flat and traced. All figures are in profile, which is easier to do if one is tracing, except one dog, and that dog doesn't have a lot of movement to it. This engraving is one of the clearest examples that there were 2 hands in the art through 1501, if one realizes that one artist is the master in the landscape portrayal. Dürer, the mathematician and master of optics, does the landscape portions of the compositions, and someone else appears to be doing the tracing and placing of the figures in the compositions. But what is even more fantastic is the co-artist was also encoding the messages, separate from what Albrecht was passing, and it doesn't appear that Albrecht was pleased about this activity, or sometimes even aware of them. Who could this person be? Stay tuned. More to come.